everybody. Welcome back to 30 Minutes of Fame podcast. I'm here today with a very cool guest that I crossed paths with a few years ago on Twitter when my daughter went viral on Hockey Night in Canada, and she had on skates, and the women were in the All-Star game, and I was like, holy shit, this is cool. I got a Team Canada athlete here. And started up this podcast, and I'm like, starting to think about who I could get on for guests, and I'm like, shit, Grace, let me send her a message. I had a TikTok ad pop up about or it came in my For You page, not an ad, about you doing some fundraising, a big event for your Olympic training. How freaking cool is that? So
Yeah,
welcome to
I
my show.
appreciate it.
Grace is a two-time North American Gold Cup medalist, ranked fifth among female skeleton racers in Canada. If you guys watching have never seen skeleton, it is intense. I get anxiety watching it because, man, like luge is bad enough. Like you're going down like this, but you go head first. So
Yep.
let's talk a little about skeleton.
Yeah. No, it's I remember, yeah, we crossed paths on the internet quite a few years ago on Twitter, and I remember seeing your daughter. Yeah, that's exactly how we got in touch, and then I'm not on Twitter as much anymore. So I'm glad you came across my TikTok page. Yeah, I started skeleton in 2012 after figure skating. I was mediocre at best at figure skating. I was just kind of there and had lots of fun, made a lot of great friends. It was like more about the journey in that respect of like I wasn't an elite athlete, but I was always putting in the work, and I feel like I've really applied that now over my it's going into my 14th season. So over my now 14 years with skeleton, that I've really just been stubborn, and that's honestly how most of these opportunities have come about. I, like you said, I've won two North American Cup medals, but there was a lot of years between that where it wasn't the easiest, and it wasn't, it wasn't the best, I'll be honest. And I kind of am now at the end resurgence of my career. Last year I raced 7 World Cup races, so that was like a career high again.
Wow.
That's what I worked my whole career for, to represent Canada on the World Cup level. And whether I make an Olympics or not, I mean, I'm very firm that it's about the journey and it's race to race. And um, I mean, I started skeleton because I wanted to go to the Olympics, but I very much have also come to peace that that's not the be all end all for me, which I think is sometimes maybe not what's like the most marketable story to tell, but I'm going to race some races this upcoming season after our team selections kind of go throughout the fall. And um, yeah, I mean, it's just been what a crazy journey of 14 years. I don't know how to sum it up into like a short sentence other than like perseverance, and I am the most stubborn person on the planet.
Now, with switching from something like figure skating, which seems pretty calm to watch, to skeleton, which what's the top speed you've ever? I'm watching some of these races and I see like 49, 50 kilometers an hour. Does it
Yeah,
get faster than that, or what's your
yeah.
top speed?
I've gone 136 kilometers an hour. Women generally top out at around 143 at the fastest track in Whistler. So yeah, we go pretty fast.
Wow, that's insane. Do you ever get any thoughts? Like, I know you got the warm up on the top, and then when you go, do you ever have crazy stuff pop in your head, like, oh crap, did I lock my door, or did I put the oven on? And then phew, you're gone.
There's been a couple times last year. We were at a preseason training camp in Norway, and I worked full time as well alongside my athlete life, and that's kind of I call it kind of like my Clark Kent Superman. I have the full time Grace, like I gotta have my glasses on, but then I transitioned to athlete mode in my super suit. But I remember thinking about something at work I needed to do, and then I like literally, yeah, the bell goes off. You have 30 seconds to break the first timing on, and then I'm like, oh crap. Okay. And it was not a good run. And I was like, that's the last time I need to put up a divider between work, life, and sliding, because when I'm sliding, I need to be all there, and same with other aspects in my life. So, I mean, it does happen. You let your mind wander, but that's why our sport is so difficult, is because it is all about what goes on between your two ears, really. Like at a certain level, we're all on the same equipment or similar equipment. We're driving the best we can. We've developed over 8 years and the track conditions are similar, but like it's all about how I execute my game plan at the end
Yeah.
of the day, which is kind of what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Um, you have a minute where you're racing the clock essentially, and then you get ranked amongst everyone like who was the fastest down the track, basically. And it's so objective, which I think is really fun as well.
One question I've always watched the Olympics since I was young. Skeleton's pretty new, but I remember watching luge, and you see people along the side of the tracks watching, spectating. Do you see those people? Because it was just like, boom, you know what I mean?
Um, as I've gotten further in my career, and it also depends on the track. Like some of the tracks are a bit slower, or ones you know really well, you're able to spot people really, really easily. My coach would say I probably shouldn't be able to see them, but sometimes that might mean your head is up a little bit too much.
Mm.
But I do see them more so in practice. I think in competition, I'm a lot more just you're just like a racehorse with your blinders on. But in practice, I there's been a couple times where I feel like I've made eye contact with someone watching, and it's super common not only with spectators but with other athletes and other coaches walk the track. And so if we're split up into two training sessions, they'll actually watch the track to like, you can basically learn from seeing someone and like learn how what the track wants to do and how you obviously don't know what they're doing on the sled, but you're able to kind of help paint this picture of what the track is doing because we only have 6 runs before a race to learn a track or like dial in your race plan. So that's really only 6 minutes down the track. So we're often found trackside watching other athletes because you're trying to gather any kind of information you can.
Hmm. Now I can't imagine it's like spectating that sport. I can't remember what that would actually be like. TV's different. You can see the start, you can see the turns, but you got people on that one track. I know most people camp out by the end, but all you're seeing is that little gone. I don't know
Yeah,
what that would be like as a spectator.
it's the best tracks that do it have like St. Moritz is a great example in Switzerland. They have a giant TV at the top so you can sit on like a patio overlooking the start and then you can see the TV the whole time and that so you essentially are watching the TV feed at the same time and listening to the track announcer. So the best tracks that do that because it is exactly like you said. If you're standing or it's like if I'm watching someone, I it's just zoop and then you wait to hear their time like the split times as they go down the track that you can kind of I mean, that's not a spectator thing. That's more me trying to gauge how fast is the ice, what's the ice doing, like that piece. But yeah, it isn't the most spectator friendly sport, which I think, but you do see at the Olympics, they always have one signature Olympic curve. That obviously every track, pretty much except for a few, have been built for an Olympic. So
Hmm.
uh, they start out, they go through all the process to become an Olympic track, and then they stick around for the amount of years after. But everyone kind of has this one corner that is like where all the seating is, and so it'll always be the one that'll have something on the ice and um, so I mean they try their best to make like a spectator area that's fun and it's specifically always centered around a major games because then that's kind of what they're going to build the seating and make sure that the shades go up in that corner so you can actually see. So because I think a lot of people also don't know is there's actually like shades like blinds all the way down the track and imagine like over a kilometer of ice and they're broken up into about meter shades and those have to be pulled up and down by hand.
Wow.
So on a training day for a lower level circuit race they'll actually have most of them down if it's really sunny out or if it's raining or snowing. World Cup is a little bit different, they'll have them open but it is even less spectator friendly on the lower circuits when you have 1200 shades down all the way down.
Wow. Oh, my little podcast here, essentially, it's a mental health theme. Um, but I have every people from all over the spectrum on here. But you'd mentioned you tried out for the last Olympics and didn't make it. How do you deal with people that doubt you? Like, does that just fire you up? Does that light a fire right under you, or any trolls, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't, I will say, like, I'm always very forthcoming on my journey. I think that's like one thing is, we all have dreams. Of course, I'd love to go to the Olympics, but I'm also very realistic. So I was fifth at the last, like fifth in Canada leading into the Olympics. And so like I was an outside shot. They took the top two, but I still think it's pretty, when I reflected back, I was like, well, I mean, I was eligible. I was like, that's a win. Like, you can't, oh yeah, it's kind of that imposter syndrome thing of like I'm justifying that like I was not going to the Olympics. Like I very much knew that. But it was also like the pandemic during that time and like we were testing every week. So there was also scenarios where what if the four women in front of you all test positive? Like then what's the action plan? And and thankfully we never got that way. We sent the best representatives and I cheered them on big time. But anyways, back to your original question is yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm really fueled by people that doubt me. And
Hmm.
I think it really did start. I had when I started skeleton, someone was like, why are you doing that? I was in university. They're like, just like go to university, move on with your life and like work and you'll have a nice life kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, but like this thing's super cool. I'm like, what if I did this? And then they're like, well, you're never gonna be good at it. Like, why would you start like you're 18? Why would you do that? And so that happened in 2012 when I first started. And then in 2014, I tried out for the national team for the first time. And we had just gone through a bunch of funding cuts with Bobsleigh Canada Skeleton, and it was kind of a weird. Our head coach was leaving. It was this big transition point, and someone that does recruitment for Bob or did recruitment for the federation at the time saw me come out and run a 30-meter sprint, and she's like, wrote me an email and said, "Hey, like, sorry, this isn't for you." And I wrote back, this is actually my third year of doing skeleton. Like, I realize that I'm still young and maybe my like physical abilities hadn't quite got there yet, but I just started training specifically for skeleton. And there was people in that camp that had never been down the track. So I think she just got confused, but she's like, this isn't for you. And so I think that also lit a fire bit under my under me of that. And I thought about those people when I got selected for when I got selected for the national team for the first time, when I raced a World Cup for the first time. I'm like, oh, I was never going to amount to anything. And now I have a lot to my name. There's a few things still left to check off, but I do feel like I've been fueled maybe a bit by by haters, which maybe isn't the most positive, but it is for sure just like always allowed a reflection point as well of
Hmm.
like I remember when that person said I couldn't do it, and now here I am and I did it. So,
It's funny. The first time, well, when we first crossed paths, I was just starting my weight loss journey, and I was almost 392. And the first time I went into a gym, there was these two guys behind me on ellipticals, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at that guy's neck! Like it looks like a pack of sausages." And so I gave up the gym for about 6 months, and then at 44 years old, I'm 50 now, as of a couple days ago, I started boxing. And well, I dropped like 170 pounds, but sometimes when I'm hitting the heavy bag, still, I'll think of those guys. I, I haven't printed off their pictures and put them up, but trolls are horrible, but if you just use them, you don't feed them, but you give them, you use it for motivation. And it was funny because after I hit my goal, I'd posted on a Calgary Roast and Toast page just thanking these guys for the motivation. It was kind of like the most polite fu you could ever give. And one of them saw it and reached out to me and he apologized and he's like, "Listen, I never realized how hurtful that was and how much it affected you, but congratulations." And then we ended up going for a coffee like 6 months later, and it was cool. The other guy I never heard from, but you never know, right? When things are going to come around full circle. And if anyone's out there struggling and you have trolls or you have people doubting, you just use it as your fire. It'll make magic. I don't encourage trolls, but if you get them, they're out there. When I
yeah.
first started this podcast, the guy was like, "You talk too fast. I couldn't understand you," because my Newfoundland accent would come out sometimes. And he's like, "I would rather listen to dental office sounds than listen to your voice." I'm like, "Oh, cool, man. Thanks. I'll make sure to speed up on my next episode."
Yeah.
um, One weird question I kind of have when I used to watch luge and skeleton at the Olympics, I'm like, I wonder if these guys ever go after hours and just go down the tracks in like crazy carpets or something.
I mean, I'm not going to confirm nor deny. I've never personally done it. It's the most safest to use the track during its operating hours, but uh, I'll say that. And I mean, we did have an accident in Calgary quite a long time ago now, where people did break in after
I
hours, and
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, they were very seriously injured, and a few unfortunately passed away.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's always the safest to sign yourself up for the sport so you can do it under a controlled environment. I always say that, and um, there is lots of security around most tracks now. I think that's more of a long time ago tale that was told of workers in the 80s that would do it, and all this stuff. But like the reality is that every track has a gated road with like a security code, and there's cameras and all this stuff. So and not as much in today's day and age. And I mean, if you're so curious about the track, I would Google whatever is closest to you and find out how you can get involved with a sliding sport. Because if you want to go down the track that bad, then maybe you should sign. Maybe like we want to recruit you. It's basically what I would say.
How many is it called a slide or a board? What you use for?
Oh, we call it a sled, is generally what we call it. Yeah.
Okay, do you have any? How many do you have? Do you have names for them?
As some people name them. I've had names of past ones. So we only have like most people will only have one. They're quite expensive. They're just over $10,000 Canadian.
Wow.
Custom, yeah, they're custom made carbon fiber, and then they have like the part that we lay in is custom to each athlete. At my level, when you're first starting, it's not, but there are a few athletes that like because there's a few different makers of them, they might have like one. It's like moving from and like I don't know the current skate thing, but moving from like a Bauer skate to a Graph skate. I know Graph doesn't exist anymore, but like, it's just preference, and some people have different preferences of how a sled feels and the thought and technology behind that. So some people have a few, but we generally only have one because they are so expensive, and it also is more consistent. There's some stuff inside we can tinker with that you'll change depending on the track, but yeah, we only travel most people with one, and it would be very expensive endeavor to collect sleds.
No doubt. I had no idea that they were that much. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
How much do those boards weigh? I've always wondered that as well.
So they vary. There's like a maximum weight for men and for women of what like you and your equipment can weigh. And so women's are generally like 21 to 30 kilos, and men would be like maybe that same low point, 21, but could go all the way up to like 35, 36 kilos. It's this we haven't quite figured out the calculation, but because you have to push it off the block, you don't want it to be too heavy because then you won't gain momentum. But then you want to be as close to that maximum as possible because then you're gonna, as you're going down the track, obviously acceleration and the math behind that, the heavier you are, the more you're gonna accelerate. So it's a bit of a balance, but um ideally, yeah, you just want to be women it's 102 kilos total and men it's 120 kilos total. So it's just dependent athlete to athlete. And uh, I mean, there's not really else. We're wearing a helmet and our shoes and a mouth guard. So it's not like our other equipment is taking up a lot of that like cap per se.
That's wild. So if there's someone out here watching this that has been told they can't do something or tried something and failed, what's your message to them?
I mean, I would say like if you really care about it, then and you're always gonna know in your gut if you care about it. I think it's a tough to say like, oh, always keep going and like that like so inspirational message because there is a point where like you know it's gonna come to a natural end. But yeah, I mean, go after it if it's what makes you excited, like I mean, for me it wasn't the most logical option either. Obviously, I was in university and you're supposed to do all this stuff in life, and it seemed like a deviation, but it really has taught me so much. So I mean, I just encourage people that like if you're thinking that you have to go explore that door, make sure you at least open it. If you choose to turn back, that's okay too, but like I think you have to at least open the door. Otherwise, I'm always of the belief that you don't want to be in your 70s, 80s, 90s, regretting something. And if it's gonna be something that you're gonna regret not doing, then I think that's your answer. So that's always what I encourage people, obviously within reason, but I very much do feel that you have to create your own journey and your own path, and it doesn't always look logical to what we're told how we're supposed to live our life. And there's this like logical sequence: graduate, like get a job, get married, like that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And there's kind of this whole like journey otherwise. So I just make sure you open the door, and yeah, make sure that you feel passionate about what you're pursuing as well. I think that's a lesson I've learned as well is um everything that I take on, like outside of, but even my work and my sport, it's like I'm passionate about it, and it's a heck yes. Like I want to be involved in that, and I very much learned to filter out requests that I don't feel aligned with as well. And like I very much have found my like values, and I think that's really funny. As an athlete, we talk about like brand values because as an athlete, you're a brand, but I've also found my like personal values within that, and they're very much the same as what my brand values are because my brand is just me. But yeah, anyways, I know that's long and I'm rambling,
No,
but I
it's okay.
think yeah.
So you have a big event coming up on September 26th in Calgary. Um, if anyone's interested, silent auction, live music, Grace Defoe's annual fundraiser to go towards your Olympic training. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is the fourth year I've run a fundraiser, and it's very much, I just shared like how much a sled costs, and like
Hmm.
it all goes directly towards my team fees and flights and like the expenses related to competing on the ice for Canada. Um, but it's about a community. And for me, this is going to be my last skeleton season coming up. So it's kind of like it's the fourth time I've done this fundraiser. It's going to be the biggest, the best yet. We have live music on a stage, silent auction. I'm very lucky to have my good friends at Blue Willow Entertainment handling the lineup. And it's very much built on community. It's hosted at Chop Value YYC, which, if you don't know, they recycle chopsticks and turn it into beautiful stuff from my standing desk that I'm sitting at right now to wall features and butcher board blocks and stuff. And the connection there is that's my mom's business as well. So there's a
Wow.
lot of, connections in amongst of the that I've built over the years. And it's kind of this like final culmination of getting everyone together. And it turns out, and this is so like Calgary and Calgary area, is like people came from different areas of my life last year to my event that was around the same time, and found out that they both knew me, but they didn't know they both knew me, and and stuff like that, and knew people that were at the event. And for me, it's also about networking. And like I think if someone wants to meet more people in Calgary, like come out, come meet some awesome people in my network. If after the fact you want to like be connected with someone, we can try to get you connected. But um yeah, it's very much built on community, and it is very much centered on this like final push. I'm calling it because of how we push the sled, but the final
Ah,
push, my last skeleton season. And I've been very, very lucky to have so much support over, I mean, my entire life and athletic career, but especially in the past 5 years. It was 5 years ago I actually started this fundraising campaign to buy my current skeleton sled that I have, and it was going to cost me $15,000 to get my sled, the like runners, the metal part we put in the sled, and then a new helmet, and it seemed insurmountable to raise that. And then the next couple years, the cost started kind of coming in like around $30,000 due to Bobsleigh Canada Skeleton to compete. That pays like for coaching, ice time, hotels, car rentals, like that whole piece. And um, so it was the next year that I'm like, okay, I have to raise 30 grand. Okay, I have to raise this. And it's just kind of, it seems crazy, but like a lot of athletes try to get sponsorship. And for me, it's more like I want to provide something in return, which is how this event came to be born essentially. So yeah, September 26th at Chop Value YYC in Calgary. Silent auction items, live music. There's gonna be great food. Spolumbos is giving us some food, and we're gonna have some drinks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I hope that people can make it out. If you can't make it out, that's totally understandable. And you're like, I want to help. You can reach out to me on social media and we can talk about the different options and like maybe what I can offer. Yeah, I'm really excited. It's gonna be a good night, and to me, I'm probably gonna leave. I always leave so emotionally exhausted, but like so grateful. And I'm anticipating that feeling again, just knowing that it's like the last chance. I mean, maybe I'll have to throw a retirement party a year from now, but it's the last chance that I'm gonna have this opportunity to like throw this awesome event when 5 years ago I didn't even know how to organize event, how to get like how to fundraise, all this kind of stuff. And it's these skills that I've just like when your back's up against the wall, you just have to figure it out. And that's the kind of person that I am. So
Uh,
this event is is that essentially.
when you're talking to someone about this event, or people are asking more questions about fundraising, the dad joke guru in me wants to know if you ever said, "You got to bear with me. I'm working with a skeleton crew."
I haven't, but that's a good one.
There you go. You can have that.
Yeah. Yeah, it truly is. I mean, I'm very lucky this year. As I said, Blue Willow Entertainment, which if you don't, you should Google them. They're amazing. They represent local artists and they not only work in like the artist recording music, but like supporting them in their branding, PR, and like very much the same as like what my coach is to me. It's like they're like to their artists. So in the past, it's just been me and a few family members putting this together, and I'm very, very grateful that my friend Seth, who works at Blue Willow, kind of came forward and was like, "We'd love to organize this for you and kind of take that piece off your plate and just give you back all the proceeds." So, and that's someone I met 5 years ago during the pandemic on a podcast. So, uh, and it's turned into this like awesome relationship with Blue Willow, and I love music. My mom loves music, so it's very natural as well that we would have music at a concert and bring some value that way. So yeah, it was a skeleton crew. I'd say this year is a step up that, there's people that do this for a living full time. Obviously, they have a lot of other events they're organizing in Calgary and stuff. So they're very busy, but they're wonderful and taking that piece off my plate because as I said, I work full time and I'm training, so it's adding event coordinator on top of that is a little bit of a hectic 6 weeks coming up.
No doubt. So I'll put your website in there, your Facebook. I'll put a link in the description, the Chop Value YYC. I'll put a link to the Blue Willow you mentioned. Um,
Yeah.
I have full control of everything again now. So, people are doing good stuff. I'm gonna help promote them, and I'm so glad your TikTok thing popped up on my For You page. I'm like, wait a second, I know her. We've had a chat about my daughter, who is still doing Muay Thai to this day. She does Muay Thai
Amazing.
training. She was about to do a first tournament, but she got a little scared. So then we're gonna watch some Karate Kid movies and try and get her a little more fired up. But
Well,
she's
I
amazing.
mean, if she's scared, I will say that that's normal. And sometimes we can't differentiate between fear and what like and excitement, and we get them mixed up. And
Yeah,
when I'm sure you know this, but like if I could tell her one thing, it's like it's scary, but like you can change how you're perceiving that fear. And because I've felt that at times standing on the top of the skeleton track. So it's normal, but I hope that she's able to overcome that because the competing part and like even no matter how it goes is like one of the most exhilarating things. Um, but anyways, that would be my one piece of advice. I'm excited for her.
I love it. I've Yeah, so everyone check all the links in the description. Go check out Grace's Facebook page and want to come up to the event. Um, if you have a few dollars to send, anything, I'd love to do a follow-up episode with you after the Olympics if when you get there or whatever happens, just to do a second part. And maybe I'll have my daughter co-host. She can interview you then, and
Yeah,
go from there.
I want to know what kind of questions like the next generation has, and that's part of my like legacy of what I'm trying to leave with my sport is we have a lot of new athletes coming in, and it's kind of like I want to stick around and show them like some of the stuff I've picked up and how to be a professional essentially at this and have a brand and give back to the community and like that piece. not everyone has to do it the same way, but just be like this, like leadership piece. And I mean, it goes further than that, that like I remember being a young girl and looking up to, Haley Wickenheiser and the women's hockey team in Salt Lake City Olympics
Oh,
and that piece. And like it's kind of cool to be on the other end of it now. And I know I'm not necessarily the top level athlete. I'm not the, the Summer McIntoshes, but there's a lot of cool female athletes in this country that your daughter has to look up to. So,
love it. I've got one more question for you before we get out of here. Um, I'm bringing this back. I dropped it, but so here's I want to get an athlete's perspective on this question. Um, a 100-meter pigeon carrying contest. How many pigeons do you think you could carry and still have in your arms at the end of the race?
oh, this is a hard one. I despise. I got like attacked by a magpie in our backyard last month, so I'm so little bird traumatized. But if they were like friendly, I mean, I'm confident I could probably get two, like one in each hand.
Two?
I'm unsure. I would probably try to start with more because it's like a funnel. You would lose more as you got closer. But um, I'm confident I would cross the line with one because I'm a realist. One or
Beautiful. Well, that's
zero.
that's that's one more than Leslie Horton from Global TV News. She has a fear of pigeons and a fear of Canada geese, so she wasn't even touching that question.
Okay, that's fair. As I said, I'm stubborn, so even though I'm scared, I would still try.
Well, all right. So I appreciate you coming on with me. Everyone, check out the links, and we'll be cheering you on for sure, whatever happens. And I appreciate you coming on and spending 30 minutes with me.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was very fun to chat.
You too. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Everybody out there watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that cool stuff my daughter tells me to say. And yeah, check out our other episodes. There are lots of amazing guests on, and looking forward to where this is going. So have a
Awesome.
great day, everybody.